All right, all right, all right. Let's get Facebook in here and we can start the show. Got the wheels spinning. 1 and a 2. All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday morning. Happy Victory Monday to you guys. I'm Nick Kendell, joined by Erick Trickel. Erick, good to see you. Always appreciate you coming in, waking up bright and early to talk Broncos football. I know you had to be up bright and early yesterday as well, and I just want to take a second to apologize to our international visitors for the quality of football that we got. I will say that it's probably better than a 0-0, no shots on goal kind of soccer match, but that's kind of the equivalent that we saw. It was pretty sloppy. The one thing I will say, though, it's equivalent to soccer. We saw a defense stand on its head, if you will. I don't know if that's more hockey than soccer, but shout out to the Broncos defense and a few other contributors as well. But man, that was ugly. And I'm an Iowa football fan. I know what it looks like to win ugly. That was pretty ugly.
Yeah, it was a very ugly win. It was one of those. It was a game where, by halftime, I was back in bed, just watching it on my phone instead of pulling it up on the TV or whatever. It was just one of those games where it wasn't worth waking up for. Unfortunately, with how ugly it was and how disappointing it was. Like there was a lot of aspects with this game that we've seen a lot better from with this team on the season, and it just wasn't showing up. And then this was the first game of the season where I walk away really questioning Sean Payton's decision making with the play calls for it. Doesn't mean there weren't some good ones. The play call near the line of scrimmage or near the red zone and in the red zone specifically were actually really good. I liked that, but between that, the third and long handoff to the fullback was, and just so many other decisions. It was an ugly win, but in the end, it's a win. And you've said this before. It's not like college football where how you win matters. It doesn't matter in the NFL. Denver won in the end. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to any Super Bowl champion and find some wins where fan base is freaking out and it's really ugly. But at the end of the day, the good teams, if you can stack enough of those ugly wins, get in the playoffs, get a good seed, who knows? So Denver ends up 4-2 on the season, escaping a very ugly win in London and heading back home to now play the intriguing Giants. And I just want to give a plug. That is our Mile High Huddle meet and greet. So Erick and I will be there. Dylan, you're going to be there too, I'm hoping. I'm right. Thumbs up. No. Oh my God. That means I'm going to be the best looking one there. I got it. That's too much pressure. No. Well, we'll miss you, Dylan. It was a lot of fun last year with your old man as well. He's probably sad about the 49ers MASH unit that's going on out there. But yeah, no, Denver, again, back to the Jets, 13-11 victory. The Broncos are winning games, but I feel like they have like a lot of the same mistakes every single week. Right now, there's trends growing, and I've been hammering it. If you follow me on Twitter, we'll get to that in a second, but I think we should have to be positive first. This Denver defense, Justin Fields, I don't know if he'll ever play quarterback again after that, and I will say that hand over heart, hand to God. Justin Fields, I loved coming out of that draft. I thought, the arm talent, the athleticism, obviously not a quarterback in the NFL of any sort of caliber. Maybe he can do some Wildcat stuff, but that's the extent of it. Denver made him look foolish, and for the Jets to finish with a cumulative negative 10 pass yards, I mean, again, coming back, I've seen Iowa football. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. So shout out to the Denver defense. The only reason this game I'm feeling anything positive coming out of this game, honestly. There's a few things on offense too. We'll get into it. But the Denver defense, 9 sacks, negative 10 pass yards. Unbelievable performance for them. Stood on their head, like we said.
Yeah, the negative 10 passing yards was the fewest allowed in Broncos history, and it's the fewest allowed since 1998, where the Kansas City Chiefs allowed negative 19 to the San Diego Chargers. So just a hat tip to them. 82 total yards, fewest allowed in Denver since 1971.
Jesus.
So they did a phenomenal job. And then the Jets, one of the things that they had going for them with their offense was they found a way to get explosive plays. The Broncos held them to 0 explosive plays in the game. That's the first time in a game, any game since 2021, where a team an offense hasn't had an explosive play. So they more than did their job. They caused all sorts of havoc up front with the pass rush. The run defense did a great job. Obviously, they had some lapses. There was a couple nice runs by Justin Fields and Breece Hall, but they didn't allow them to take it over the game. They just did a great job. Like, there's no other ways around it. Everyone stepped up. Everyone played a really good game on defense. And obviously, you can't have perfection in the NFL, but this is damn near as close to perfection as you can get from a defense.
Yeah.
I mean, 45 passing yards, negative 10 total off passing yards, 82 total total yards on offense. Like, that is as close to perfection as you can get with the 9 sacks, no explosive plays. It was hat tip to the defense. They were on one against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, the 9 sacks, Denver is on pace to shatter the 85 Bears sack record. Now, obviously, it's a lot different to do that over a full season versus a 6-game sample, but a 6-game sample, like, we're getting to the point now where we are starting to be able to figure out who these teams are. Not exactly who they're going to be, but always the best indicator of future performance is past, which is both good and bad, I guess, for some of this areas on this Broncos team. But the defense especially, I mean, I won't speak for you, but I know for sure I said, like, defense year to year regression, watching that Colts game, then march up and down the field. Maybe some defensive regression. How hard it would be for them to break their sack record again. I mean, just like they could be as good of a unit and not break their franchise sack record that they just broke last season. I mean, it stood for that many years and they just broke it last year. What are the odds they do it again? They're on pace to do it right now. That's for sure. And I have to give out some individual shout outs as well. I think my 2 favorite players in this game for the Broncos, Jonathan Cooper, welcome to the NFL, Membao, number 7 overall pick from Mizzou, a good run blocker, still has some work to do in pass protection, and Jonathan Cooper took it to him. What a heck of a game from him. Obviously, the whole interior, the whole pass rush for the Broncos incredible, but the last one, Talanoa Hufanga, man, I had just quickly becoming one of my favorite players. Now, I know where it's the single digit, the hair, the energy he plays with, but some of the sacks they sent him on, the incompletion that he forced at the end, just getting in the backfield. I do wish we were getting a little bit more of the turnovers, and that's my only real critique of the defense right now, is that they just are not taking the ball away. Unless, that Garrett Wilson one, I think, call on the field stands, buddy. But, whatever. But that's the only real critique right now from this Broncos. But Cooper and Hufanga, incredible games from them. Really deserve a shout out.
Yeah, Hufanga has been outstanding. There was a few snaps throughout the game where he wasn't on the field, and it was noticeable when PJ Locke entered the game. It was very noticeable that Hufanga wasn't out there, not just because of the way he looked, but because of the way the defense had played. One thing that I got to give a lot of credit to Vance Joseph for was against the Colts, he was using Hufanga a lot as that deeper safety, and then Brandon Jones down closer to the box. And ever since that game, that's kind of switched a little bit. And now there's really starting to find that groove with how things are working. Obviously, still some issues. There's some questionable plays from the linebackers. Justin Strnad had a really bad missed tackle. Alex Singleton had some wrong gap fills, but when you're playing Hufanga closer to the line of scrimmage, it's a little bit easier to overcome and hide those mistakes that the linebackers are making. And again, in coverage, he's been so good and just flies around all over the defense. And he shows that he really does have much better range than a lot of people may give him credit for when they look at his size and his build. But he's been such a energy piece for this defense with the plays that he makes and how he makes them. And you mentioned that one incompletion that he forced. You could see that rejuvenated the energy of the defense a little bit afterwards with how they were playing after that. So hat tip to him. Like, he's been such a great piece for this Broncos defense. And when they're using him the right way, this defense has been exceptional.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I know that, J.K. Dobbins, just because Denver's so starved for offense, and there's just an inherent bias towards offensive football. I think it's partially because the fan base has been starving for it so much, partially fantasy football, but me, I'm a defense guy, and Hufanga has been the best signing for this Broncos team. Hopefully pretty soon, the turnovers can start coming too. That's really my only negative, and not even necessarily a negative, but this Broncos team, Eric, we are now 1, 2, 6, 8, 12. I think it's been 12 quarters since the Broncos defense has forced a turnover. The last turnover takeaway the Broncos had was Jonah Ellis punched out that a kickoff return versus the Chargers. That was quarter 3. That's special teams. It's been since Justin Herbert, week 3 interception that Denver has created a takeaway. So right now, Denver, they only have 4 takeaways on the season. According to EPA per play, they're the 3rd best defense in football, behind the Vikings and the Texans. But if you take away turnovers, which is a filter on there because turnovers are volatile and fluky, not really something you can depend on to do at a crazy high clip. So they can remove that. It's a little bit more predictive going forward when you remove the turnovers. Denver becomes far and away the number 1 defense in the NFL. A lot of it's because the negative plays, the sacks obviously is huge. I mean, when you have 9 sacks is probably equivalent to 2 turnovers, maybe 2.5. But that's really the only thing that's missing from this defense, from them to go, in the conversation of the best defense to the NFL to the best defense in the NFL. And I think that would help the Broncos offense a lot if they started taking the ball away as well, because this game, field position was a problem for Denver.
Yeah, and with EPA and talking about the Vikings taking away turnovers, it's also worth doing it. I mean, it's great that you're able to score points, but the Vikings have, I think, 4 or 5 defensive touchdowns this year off of it, and 2 of them came against the Bengals with Jake Browning. But you got to be able to force those takeaways on the defense, and Denver's gotten so close to it. You had the Garrett Wilson no catch, and as much as it bothers me that was the right rule by letter of law, just because it's that third step, and that's the thing that's annoying a little bit. Making that third step or that football move, Troy Franklin made that football move, and then Garrett Wilson, he got the ball knocked out on that third step, and it's one of those where by letter of law it is, but it still stinks. And then you had the Hufanga near interception play against the Eagles. Like, Denver has gotten close multiple times. There's been a couple close near interceptions as well. And it's just a matter of taking it from being close to actually getting the ball taken away, getting it in your hands, forcing that fumble, punching the ball out, things like that. They're so close. The turnovers, the takeaways, they got to come at some point.
You hope.
Because of how close they're getting. It's hard to be this close as much as Denver has been and not generate takeaways. So here soon we got to see it, and hopefully over the next couple weeks, because I've talked about how they're in the easy stretch of their schedule, but the next 2 teams are looking to be a little bit tougher, that can challenge Denver in the right ways. That being able to force some takeaways could really help out this team.
Jackson Dart a little loosey-goosey with the football and his body sometimes, and one of the big issues with Cam Skattebo coming out of Arizona State is he put the ball on the turf a lot. So yeah. I'm hoping, again, it's not – interceptions are a little bit more predictive than forced fumbles, because there's always, the 50-50 chance of the forced fumble, recovering those. But with how much Denver's getting after the quarterback, their penetration style, I'm hoping that they're spending some time in practice working on the peanut punch. I mean, you have 9 hits on the quarterback. Somebody swipe the ball, right? It's just like, I'm hoping that we'll get some of that at some point. And to that point, in this game, the Jets had just unbelievable advantage in field position, over 12 yards more further up the field than the Broncos. And if that doesn't sound like, 12 yards is 1 first down, but if you think about that over every single possession, it's 12 yards. The Franklin fumble, 2 massive kick returns for the Jets as well. The Broncos just were fighting an uphill battle the whole game. I think it was Denver 24 versus New York Jets 36, I believe, was the average difference. And that's huge, especially for an offense that is struggling. So it's not just the turnovers, it's also special teams, coverage units. I want to give a shout out to, I cannot think of who the safety was. One of the the Jets' last returns, there was a special team safety who got like an ankle tackle. And if he didn't do that, it might have been the 3rd big Jets Key. Return. It was Key. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. Absolutely. I kept thinking Sam Franklin. No, he's not on the team anymore. It's a safety. It's a backup safety. Devin Key. Huge. I mean, one of those things that it'll be forgotten, in 24 hours, but that tackle maybe changes the outcome of the game because the Broncos, and one more big special teams kick. I mean, I know they have that running back from Iowa State, went to Minnesota. He's a big home run threat from the kick return. He's good, but Rizzy, I mean, what is going on with the kick unit specifically? Shout out to Will Lutz. What do you have, a 56-yarder, 57-yarder? He's been pretty money since that weird Colts game, and missing that one that would be nice to have right now if he would have made it. But the coverage units have been very frustrating to watch. Before that, though, I do want to say hello to some folks. Denver Luke, good to see you. Michael Ronquillo, happy birthday, buddy. Good to see you. It was his birthday yesterday. Looking good. The facial hair is pronounced right now, Michael. I've seen it as well. So hope you're doing well. Always great to have you in here. You also gave two monthly memberships. So appreciate you. If you guys can be like Michael, become a member, super chat, all that stuff helps us a heck of a lot. I know that we're kind of feeling frustrated with the Broncos win, but a win is a win. And God, how many ugly wins did the Chiefs have last year all the way to another Super Bowl? So not that the Broncos will be the Chiefs, and Chiefs look formidable. That offense looks as good as it has in a few years, but one game at a time. You keep stacking and we'll see where it falls. Mark McDonald, good to see you. Ugly win, but it was a win. Need to clean up these damn penalties. The offense needs to get it together quickly. No more excuses. Yeah, penalties, special teams, and turnovers. Denver's not like coughing the ball up like crazy, but they're not taking the ball away also. So they're losing so many games in turnover differential. Hard to win football games. I think it's just been pure talent advantage, and especially the Titans game and the Jets game. Denver didn't necessarily play better in the areas where you look at where teams are close talent-wise. Ended up winning, but because they had such a talent advantage, they ended up winning those games. So Denver's got a lot to work on still, and they're I hate to say it. I think they're a little bit fortunate to have played the Jets and the Titans so far because the performances they had in those two games don't beat 24, 26 of the teams in the league.
Yeah, and it's tough because obviously you want better from the offense, and the defense has been they've had their rough moments, but were almost let down by the offense against the Jets and almost let down by the offense against the Titans to start the season. And so you obviously no one's denying that you got to get better out of the offense. And there's so many issues here that it can be tough to find a place where to start. And against the Jets in particular, there was an obvious issue with the offensive line. Matt Parrott had a really rough start in the first half. He did bounce back in the second half and actually put together a pretty solid game. Still had some losses. It wasn't anywhere near what you want from a starter, but it's a positive sign, especially when you're going against a guy like Quentin Williams, who gives every offensive lineman so many fits. And then in the second half, you had Quinn Miners absolutely struggle, get bulldozed, and then hold in the end zone for a safety. And then Mike McGlinchey was really struggling. So it's tough when you have one guy being such a clear issue in one half, and then the second half you have two guys, and your offensive line just unable to do a whole lot. When a lot of stuff with Sean Payton's offense obviously starts with the offensive line. The running game is so dependent on it, and then so much of the passing game still relies on having that pass protection being able to hold up, because it's hard to live with just a quick passing game, especially against a team like the Jets who sniffed that out so well. That was one of the better areas where the defense is. Run defense and the quick passing game. That's where the Jets have just done well. So there's a lot to work on. And then when you look at ahead a little bit with the Giants upcoming and what they have with their defensive front, that's the mainstay of their defense right now. They're winning up front and letting everything fall into place after that. There's a lot of concerns with the offensive line, and it's hard to figure out where you want to start because you don't have another option for a left guard. It's Matt Parrott. That's it. Alex Palczewski cannot play the left side of the line. I alluded to it last week, and that's why he's not starting. He just cannot play the left side of the line. So you don't have another option. Alex Forsythe, he's been terrible at guard, so he's not really an option. So you got to figure out some way that you can make Matt Parrott work and then just get your whole offensive line going and working together as a cohesive unit, because that was not happening against the Jets.
Yeah, and I know there's been some talk also on the Twitter machine of moving Wattenberg over to left guard and then having Forsythe at center. But I don't want to weaken two positions on the field at the same time. So I don't know. I think we're on left guard trade watch right now as well. But Parrott's going to get another chance. Unfortunately, as you alluded to, this is potentially the best pass rush they'll go against this season with obviously Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Thibodeau. Those edge rushers, I mean, they get after it. Deion Banks has been a failed pick at cornerback, so you can get after them a little bit in the secondary. And I I keep calling it. I called it this week. I'm going to call it again. It just keeps happening. I think Denver is going to, hopefully the turnovers come in bunches because that can really change the control of the game. Do want to get to some more people in the chat here. We got David Youngkin saying very disappointed in the play calling. We'll get into that. Jake Levian, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Giants, concerning game. Also, I know the Broncos asked for the not to have a bye following the London game, Eric. I'm annoyed though. Like, do you have to give the team that they're playing extra 3 days, like to prepare as well? Like, couldn't they Denver's doing a back-to-back road trip, East Coast, London. Maybe we have the team that's playing them next not having an extra 3 days to prepare. I don't know. Denver has a Thursday night football game before they play the Chiefs. Oh, advantage Denver. Chiefs have a bye week before that one. It's like, come on. This league schedule makers. I know it's, you have to balance it for all 32 teams, but that feels unfortunate for Denver. Good to see you, Jake. Quentin's in the house. Great to see you. Ernie Mays, our guy. Great to see you. Conga also mentioned somewhere down here the Bengals game. When I said there's only 4-6 teams Denver could have beaten with the performance they had in those two games. They played well against the Bengals. So it's not just the opponent, it's how Denver played against the opponent. So I think Denver would have beaten many teams with how they played against the Bengals, but you never know. Right? That's the game. Jason, good morning. Like to see the offense go up tempo periodically. I think this will help establish rhythm, maybe even help cut down the penalties. That was something in the first quarter. I feel like they were playing a little bit more tempo, and it helped Bo Nix as well. I think it's something they'll definitely look at going forward. Really, the big thing for me is right now this Bo Nix. Eric, in the chat, you guys know I'm always very critical of the quarterback play because the bar isn't. I don't grade the quarterback on the curve very often. It's if the goal is Super Bowls, you are grading against the quarterbacks that are going to the Super Bowl. So against the Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Drake May at this point. God, it's too early to say that. It's way too early. It's too early for Bo. It's too early for Drake, but Drake's playing unbelievable football. But this is a game I come away from. Was Bo Nix incredible? No. A few plays, especially under pressure, that's still a concern. I'd be interested to see what the stats are. But this is as bad of an offensive performance where I'm I got really almost no criticisms for the quarterback play in this one. I thought he played pretty well, delivered a catchable football, used his legs pretty well, and a lot of the good plays he had felt like they were negated by penalties. Like they were moving the football, terrible field position the entire game. Bo Nix was fine in this one. This was the first game, as you mentioned earlier, Eric, where I come away like, Sean Payton, what the hell were we doing in this one? I was, again, very critical of Bo Nix because the bar is the best in the AFC, which is the best quarterbacks in the league. But this one, I don't have hardly any criticisms of Bo Nix.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple, as you said, there's a couple plays where it's all right, that could be a little bit better, especially with what he did under pressure.
Yeah.
But this was the first game where there wasn't super obvious issues with Bo Nix that were holding the offense back. It was one of those games where there's super obvious issues with pieces around him, play calling and offensive line play. It's all right, you got to do a little bit better. And one of those, as you mentioned, is the lack of no huddle or the lack of tempo with the offense. So in the first quarter, you mentioned this, Bo Nix looked really good in the first quarter where they went no tempo for the majority of it. He was 11 to 12 for 96 yards when they were doing that. On the season, when they're going no huddle on it, Bo Nix, when no huddle looks, 18 for 29, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty darn good. I believe that's top 10 in the NFL right now. So he's doing well with no huddle. And then you have Sean Payton, who's not going no huddle against a defense that doesn't have great depth in the first place. So if you can tire out their starters, then you can have success. They love to stay in that man coverage that they do. That Bo Nix has shown that he can read out pretty well and, make some plays against it. And you're just not letting him do that. And then, the rest of the play calling, the play sequencing outside of the red zone was absolutely awful. The third down handoff to Adam Prentice, that's just a sign of giving up on your offense. I mean, at least as much as I hate screens, if you don't want to go and try for, what was this, a 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 16 or something like that, if you don't want to try for that with the passing game, with how the defense has been doing up front with the pressure, all right, fine. At least throw a screen at them or something. And even though the screens hadn't been working, you got to do something. It was a very questionable game from Sean Payton in so many ways. And it was like one of those games where he felt like he could really just try out a bunch of different things for them because the offense was so bad. He can fall back on the defense to help them win this game. So he's just going to mess around on offense, see what works. And obviously that's not what he's doing, but it's just the way that what it felt. I mean, and not just that third down run. There was multiple other plays, multiple other ways that players were being used. 8 different players ran the ball, and like it just was the first game this season that I come away really questioning Sean Payton. Up until this point, he's been doing a really good job with this with it. Obviously not perfect, some sequencing issues here and there, but the play calls have been pretty spot on to attack the weaknesses of his opponent's defense. But this one, just don't know what Sean was thinking with this one.
Yeah. And we got Bob coming in here over on Facebook. Thank you so much, Bob. You make sure you guys clicking the thumbs up over on that side. I like the was it the Enyo on the can? So I don't know what's going on there. Bob is showing up on my side, but I'm not going to pronounce it. It's going to be, I'll get in trouble with the Enyo on it. The Broncos, how can the Broncos be 7-point favorites against the Giants next Sunday? Sucker bet. Yeah, I would put Denver right now as 3.5, 4.5, coming at home. Giants did beat the Eagles, but I said it last week, much to the chagrin of some of the fans on Twitter and everything. Like, the Eagles win, we could look back, at the end of the season and be like, oh yeah, it felt like a quality win at the time, and they flatlined. Like, that was a team, there was obvious issues. All the stats said there was issues despite them being 4-0, and they end up going, what was that Broncos team with Josh McDaniels? They were 6-0 and they ended up missing the playoffs or something. Like, yeah. I don't think the Eagles will miss the playoffs. I think the NFC East isn't like that great. But right now, that's not a very good Eagles team despite the 4-2 record. But they might also say it's not a very good Broncos team. Who is good right now? Chiefs, despite their 3-3 record, scared the absolute heck out of me. I think that's just, the history of them. Bills as well. NFC side, Packers, Lions. Lions got to figure out that red zone defense going, 5 for 6 for Kansas City in that one, or 4-5. But yeah, it's a long season to go. Denver's 4-2. They're treading water. They're keeping their head above water, and hopefully they will continue to improve, especially based on that 13-11 victory, which counts at the end of the day. Ryan Yazzie, great to see you. Mark Kennedy, fantastic. Roy Osborne, great to see you. Tired of the inept offense. It's horrible. Yeah, it felt very vanilla, and I think a lot of it, again, was field position. Like, Denver was behind the 8-ball field position the entire game. I thought Crawshaw had one of his more mediocre games. He had a few good punts here and there, but there was only, I think, one possession where the Jets started in their own 10 the entire game. So it's not just him. Also, it's the fielding team getting down there, downing the ball and everything. But Denver was behind the 8-ball with it. And right now, I think the formula is pretty easy for this Broncos team, Eric. Bo Nix has struggled enough with the rate of hitting the deep ball. I know that there's some stats out there like, Bo Nix has some of the most deep connections this season. But I always say, and here I'm going to be a total nerd, numerator is only as good as the denominator, and the efficiency on it, not great. They're missing a good bit. So I think right now the formula for beating the Broncos is easy. Crowd the rush lanes, get up at the line of scrimmage, try to take away the screen game as well, be physical up front, and live and die by the sword. If they beat you deep, hat tip, but Denver hasn't hit the deep ball consistently enough that I'm going to worry about that so much. So really physical downhill football. And if Denver can't run the football, the offense, goes belly up.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm trying to think of the best way to put this, with the way the offense is and the lack of the connections on the deep balls, that's one of those areas where Bo Nix definitely has to do a little bit better. And he does well in that quick passing game, but there's only so much you can do with the quick passing game. It's hard to win games, and when you have to basically dink and dunk your way down the field. And he just does so well with the run game going and helping have the run game open up the passing lanes. It's that old school mentality of you run to set up the pass, even though modern thinking is you pass to set up the run. And that's what Sean Payton likes to do. But we've seen just Bo Nix be more efficient as a quarterback, not only when you go with, faster tempo and no huddle, but when you get that run game going. So if you can crowd that line and you can take away the run game and make it inefficient, and let's face it, have Sean Payton go away from the run, because he's a dude who loves to abandon the run when it's not working instead of sticking with it, because you don't want to waste those downs, which understandable mentality, but you still got to grind it out and hope that you can eventually break them, because when you give up on the run, your play action doesn't work. And Bo Nix has been, since coming into the NFL, he's been one of the best quarterbacks outside of the pocket, and a lot of that has been on those play action rollouts. So you got to stick with it, but you just know that if the defense can take away the run, Sean Payton's not going to, and the offense is going to fall apart. So to your point, that's how you beat the Broncos. That's how you shut down this offense. Stop the run, play physical at the line of scrimmage, and just dominate the trenches, and everything else will fall apart.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll figure it out a little bit more. J.K. Dobbins, not the best game from him. I will give, it's again a low bar, but no turnovers from the running backs, protecting the football. This was a game where, as we saw, you were going to lose if you beat yourself. And one more turnover from that Broncos team. So I was happy also to see Troy Franklin after that fumble, get it together. Hopefully that's some teach tape for him. On the offensive side of the ball, though, I did want to give a shout out. Again, I haven't rewatched the game, haven't watched the coach's film. I thought Garrett Bowles had another solid game. I was pretty annoyed at Rich Eisen continuously saying that Garrett Bowles with the safety on that one. It's like, it's so obvious Quinn Miner's dragging that guy down. Like, I've met Korner a few times. He's from my neck of the woods. I'm actually friends with his niece back in East Iowa. Shout out to the Warner family and all of them. But I thought him and Eisen were pretty rough to listen to, unfortunately. And I like Eisen's show. I like Kurt Warner. He's sometimes a little bit of an old head on Twitter, the drop back pass game stuff, which I get. I kind of scream that too into the mic every now and then. But I thought they were rough, and him just hammering on Bowles on that one. It's like, get it right. The cameraman's even like showing Quinn Miners on the sideline after it and like zooming in on Quinn, and Eisen continues to go, Garrett Bowles holding the end zone. So, but Garrett Bowles, good game, I thought overall, and good game from Evan Ingram as well. It's obvious that he isn't, there's not many tight ends who are, but it's obvious you can't like build the passing offense out of him. It's just not been explosive enough. I don't think he's truly dynamic enough, but complementary. He can be, secondary, tertiary pass weapon. But I thought it was a pretty good game from him as well overall. So shout out to Evan Ingram.
Yeah, Evan Ingram, Garrett Bowles, and Jasmine comes in with a $9.99 super chat. We appreciate that, Jasmine, saying morning, guys. I take an ugly win over a pretty loss. Also, it's not Bo's fault that the offense couldn't get going. And this plays into my point that Bo was another one, and we talked about that already, that he had a pretty good game. And there were issues. There were issues with Evan Ingram. There was issues with Garrett Bowles. There's always going to be some sort of issue with these players. But Bo Nix had a good game working with what was being given to him. And it wasn't much. The offensive line outside of Garrett Bowles really struggled. I do think that this was one of the better games from Luke Wattenberg, but that's not saying a whole lot. Matt Parrott did bounce back in the second half, but that doesn't matter much when you have your whole right side being a revolving door against it. And it's not just that holding in the end zone for Quinn Miners. He was just struggling all game long. And that was with a lot of that came with Quentin Williams trying to go against Matt Parrott. So there was just a lot of issues there. Mike McGlinchey this season, like last year, he lived with what he was doing in pass protection with the struggles he had because of how good he was doing as a run blocker. This year, we're just not seeing that near that level of play as a run blocker out of him. Still been decent enough, but you just want so much better for the issues that he brings. But Evan Ingram, man, you can see the toughness. You can see why you're starting to see why Denver brought him in, the reliability that he brings in key downs, in critical downs. And it seems like that there's been, ever since the spat that Ingram and Sean Payton got into, there's definitely been more of a focus in getting him involved. So I was thinking that there might have been a lack of chemistry, a lack of trust, which some of the misplays there between Nix and Ingram do show it, but might have been a little bit of Sean Payton just not utilizing him in the right way, and we're starting to see that corrected. So hat tip to those guys, and a hat tip to Pat Bryant as well. Even though he didn't, have the big plays, he really did worked his butt off as a run blocker outside, and just was opening the door. And then still had, I think, two pretty big catches as well for the game. So hat tip to him. I think those were probably the four best players on offense in this one.
Yeah. Again, I am typically pretty critical of quarterback play just in general, because if the goal is your self-imposed goal is talking Super Bowls, at the end of the day, it's probably going to come down to the quarterback winning at least one duel, keeping up, back and forth, exchanging blows, and we haven't seen that from Bo Nix other than the Browns game. I have to give credit, but that's 1 out of 24 at this point, 22 games. So yeah, overall, this was a game where Bo Nix was not at all the problem. Was there a few plays here or there? It could have been a little quicker getting the ball, a little better under pressure, sure. But I'm actually with the everything is awesome crowd on Twitter, where fantasy football folks piling on Bo Nix, and it's like, I don't think you watched the game. This is one where I don't know what more he could have done. The sequencing was poor. They were constantly 3rd and long, and there wasn't the dialed up missed shots. Like, it felt like this was kind of a lot like the Chargers game, where Denver just had absolutely nothing going on the ground game. Anytime they had anything good happen, it was penalty calling it back. The only difference between the Chargers game and this game was that there was 3 or 4 dialed up as easy as it can get down the field touchdowns, and he went 1 for 4 on those. Where this one, there was no dialed up shot from Sean Payton other than the Nate Atkins touchdown. But yeah, I don't know. Sean Payton, I mean, it's going to be a long flight. I'm sure they're happy to get the victory. Very happy to have Vance Joseph in that defense in that one. But a lot to work on the offensive side of the ball. And thanks, Jasmine, again, for coming in here. Look at the sun hitting the dog. How beautiful is he? Good boy. But no, thank you so much, Jasmine, coming in and supporting the show. It really means a heck of a lot. We also got David Youngkin, says, no matter how much we love the Broncos as fans, it's up to the players and coaches to get their bleep together. Denver of October 12th, 2025 is not going to be the Denver Broncos of January 4th or whatever the last game of the season. Could be worse. Injuries could be a problem. We've seen from well-coached teams a lot of times, October, November, they're growing towards stuff. That doesn't always happen. That's not a guarantee. Everybody always thinks linear growth. But for well-coached teams with the right characters and makeup in the locker room, you see a little bit of growth. So Denver has a lot of correctable areas where they can play better. Right now, the big one for me, the turnovers have to come. I don't understand. But the two things that have been just extremely frustrating for me that I think are correctable, obviously big picture, quarterback, offense, blah, 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 but the penalties, self-correct, misalignment, not guys on the line of scrimmage, false starts, blah, blah, blah. And then the special teams. I mean, we always say on here, I mean, it's not, we didn't come up with it, but there's 3 phases in football game. If you win 2 out of 3, you're going to win most of the time. Denver won this one losing 2 out of the 3 matchups in special teams. And it was just because the defense had one of the best days of defense without a turnover we've ever seen. I know Broncos country doesn't really like him so much. Steven Ruiz over at the Ringer, because he's, really big Drew Lock hater when that was happening. And I don't think he was wrong, but Drew Lock hater, and then also been critical of Bo Nix. But this was like the worst EPA offensive performance, or the best defensive EPA defensive performance I think we've seen since like 1991, where the team didn't create any. So unbelievable performance from the defense. Not really sustainable against 24, 26 of the teams in the league. So got to get better. We'll pile on the offense, but right now, Rizzy, defense, special teams cannot have it. You guys got to be better.
Yeah, and it really got to figure out what's going on with that, because one of the big runs was a JL Skinner mistake, the one where Dondre Tillman missed the tackle. Skinner goes in, lowers his head, and then lunges into the contact and completely misses on hitting the returner and hits Tillman off the tackle, leading to a big run. And it is something that I've been trying to go back and watch, and I can't figure out what it is, because it's not that they're giving up lane integrity. They're staying actually pretty well disciplined on returns and staying in their gap and in their lane and doing a fine job with that. It's just at the wrong time, somebody gets caught on a block or something. Like, I cannot figure out what the issue is specifically, to where that is one thing that's so easy to correct that you can go and correct it and fix the mistakes. It just seems to be like a bad moment. But when it's happening this consistently, it's not just a bad moment. There's something that is going wrong. And it's on Rizzi, who up until this year, he has been one of the best special teams coordinators in the NFL for a long time, 10 plus years. And this year we're just not seeing it. And it, not just on the coverage units, but the return units as well have been really struggling. And I mean, Mims, he's gotten close a couple times, but there's some questionable blocking up front and on the returns and everything like that are just not doing well. I mean, it's hard to do something when you have an unblocked defender or special teams player on the opposite side who is there when, you know, and as soon as you get out of the landing zone on the kickoff return, that they're unblocked right in front of you. It's hard to make something happen with that. So he's really got to figure it out. And talking about correctable mistakes on penalties, Denver is tied for the 4th most penalties so far this year. But despite that, they're second in total yardage against them in penalties. And so it's not just the number of penalties, it's how impactful these penalties are because of the yardage. Ironically, the team that's ahead of them and in yardage given up with penalties is the Giants, and that's who they're tied with. 49 penalties against each of them. So I found that a little bit ironic, and that's something that you gotta clean up, especially the pre-snap penalties, the formation stuff. That is something that with how often it's happening, rookies you can kind of give a slight break to, just because they're still learning things. And I do think the false start, not trying to crap on the quarterback here, the false start on Pat Bryant, I do put a little bit more on Bo Nix because the way he was doing his cadence, it wasn't a situation where he was trying to draw him offline or off sides. It was just a weird cadence for that timing. But beside the point, Pat Bryant's had a couple other ones, a couple alignment issues, and stuff like that you can kind of shrug off, but it's a number of them that have been come with the longtime veterans on in the NFL. Those are the ones that are far more bothersome for it. And then the other one that I think is a correctable error that you can fix, the offensive line play. You got to figure something out. And one of the easiest things you can do with the offensive line play, if you want to get it going, go back to the basics. And that's what Sean Payton really needs to do with this offensive line, especially with Ben Powers out for the next few months.
Yeah, I did feel like they had, I don't have the snap count in front of me. They really did use a lot of heavy personnel, Alex Palachetsky, but Denver wasn't able to match up with that still. So I don't know what the answer is on that front, Eric, as far as getting the run game going. Obviously, Bo Nix tends to go as the run game goes, as we've seen so far, which is true for most quarterbacks. You know, like I don't think that's a criticism of Bo Nix. There is only maybe 8 quarterbacks in the league where you can give them a bottom 10, bottom 3 weekly run game output and have them win. And Bo Nix isn't that guy right now. Maybe he will be right now. And he can be every now and then, I believe. He's got the talent, but not consistently. We got Troy coming in here. Good to see you, Troy. Says at this point, nearly every team has won games they should not have and lost games they should have won. Glad we're 4-2 coming home, even if we play a well-rested team. Yeah, no doubt. Denver right now is kind of correcting some of their, and so over a large enough sample size, it's like a coin flip. But the 1-score games right now, they are falling more towards Denver's favor in this one right now. In the season right now, they're they'd be 3-2 in 1-score games, so they should fall about 500. And you'd have to see like 1,000 to really have it come out 50-50. But glad to have them be 4-2. You're absolutely right. And as far as I know, Eric, Hufanga kind of in and out, maybe with a wrist injury. I don't know if there was any other injuries coming out of this one for the Broncos. So happy to end the road game. I think they have 4 of their next 5 at home, 3 of the next 4 at home as well. So taking care of business and happy to be 4-2. They could just as easily be 2-4 right now. They could just as easily be 6-0. 4-2 feels right given the opponents they've played so far this season.
Yeah, at this point in the season, I kind of had them. I believe I had them at like 5-1 with the loss of the Eagles. But that's the way the NFL season works: is you win some you not expected to, you lose some you're not expected to. And the way that the Colts and the Chargers were playing, that was just bad timing on the schedule. They were playing great football at that point, and Denver was not. And now, not that Denver's playing great football on offense, their defense has finally started to figure it out. And the Colts and especially the Chargers are starting to show a lot more cracks. That defense hasn't been as good as it was, and the offensive line is even worse. And it's affecting Justin Herbert's play. So it's just one of those things that it's always hard to predict what's going to go on with the season. It's why, after the loss of the Colts, everybody was so doom and gloom about, oh, the Broncos stink and that they're not going to make the playoffs. Well, we don't know that because of how things are going. Prior to the season, people didn't expect that the Houston Texans would look as bad as they do. And they look like they're a bottom 10 team in the NFL right now because of just how bad that offense is. And that's a game that a lot of people felt that Denver might not win, and they still might not. Texans could still figure it out. So it's a long season for a reason. There's 17 games to it, and how you are in week 2, week 5, week 7, week 8, that's not who you're going to be weeks 15, 16, 17, 18. And Denver is one of those teams where they're tough to kind of get a beat onto which way they're going to go. They look like they're going to be a good team throughout a good team throughout the season, carried by their defense, just because of what they have done. Losing 2 games with literal last-second field goals kind of helps that. I mean, they were literally a bad penalty away from being 5-1 against the Colts. So they look like the makes of a good team. Doesn't mean they don't have issues. They got to figure out those issues on the offense if they really want to be a great team. But they look like they have the makings of it. It's just taking those steps to get there.
Yeah. David asks, when will Greenlaw play? They talked about it. Somebody, I think maybe it was Chris Thomason. Him and Mike Kliss are the goats as far as I'm concerned, is like actual reporting from the Broncos facility. But I think Greenlaw has one more game where he's on the IR, then he can be activated. But with the hamstring issue, personally, Eric, I think it's not, I'd say it's 75-25, but I think there's like a 25% chance we don't see him like at all this season, or like he comes back and then it's like, oh, still not right, and then gone. But right now, I think you're hoping for the Kansas City game with hopefully for him, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's, after the bye week and then we get him for that stretch run week 13 through 18.
Yeah, he is eligible to come off injured reserve this week. I am not expecting that. I'm not expecting him to even activate the practice window, just based off of what Mike Kliss said, I believe the week after he was put on injury reserve, and he was talking about like the Raiders Chiefs game somewhere around there. So week 10, week 11, that seemed to be the timeline. I do think we'll get him back for the season. How long though? That I don't know. So he'll come off injured reserve at some point, but whether he stays active and stays on the field, I would say that's very much a 50-50, just because not only the type of injury that he has, but his history with it.
Yeah, no doubt. Sorry, my internet kind of dipped out there for a second, Eric. I didn't mean to interrupt you. We got thank you so much, David, for the super chat. Thanks to everybody with the super chats today. A few more points I want to get to, Eric, before we get on out of here. You talked about it earlier, just figuring out the Broncos game. Been watching. I was mostly watching the Mariners game. Go M's. I'm a more Cardinal fan, but time in Seattle, I'm cheering for the Mariners. They're definitely my AL team, so good to see them get 1-0. But I was keeping an eye on the Lions and the Chiefs, and just not that the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are scoring 33 touchdowns on 33% of their drives, which is like the most they've seen since their juggernaut season on offense. So Chiefs offense looks pretty good, and they get Rashee Rice back this week. Don't be upset, Broncos fans, if people keep putting Chiefs in the top 3, top 5 power rankings. Just the track record. Yeah, and you have to beat them. So we'll see. Again, I'm really annoyed about the bye week before coming to Denver for them, but I need to get tickets to that one. I need to go in there and flex my vocal cords. I can be pretty loud. But a big takeaway for me in this one, I think they got to figure out how the offense is going. And I'm watching the Chiefs. I know it's not necessarily Sean Payton's desires or anything, but if the heavy boxes are not going, I would love to see them go a little bit more spread and some power option, quarterback keeper, RPO options where the quarterback pulls it down and keeps it with Bo Nix. And he's a good athlete. I keep asking for it. I felt like that first drive where he was using his legs, taking a profit, offense looked a little bit more functional. And if that's what they have to do to get the run game going when it's just so congested up front, I hope that they do that. Now, it's always risky doing that because your quarterback's taking on hits, but he's an athlete. I would love to see him utilize it more.
Yeah, and when on that is not only just getting Bo Nix involved more in the running game with those RPOs, but again, going back to the basics with it, going back to what your offensive line does well. Denver has one of the highest success rates on duos, whams, and trap plays this season, and they're all doing them in, I believe, bottom 5 in traps and whams and bottom 10 in duo runs. And yet they're so well, and it's something that they did a lot last year, and that's where they had the most success last year. They were one of the highest EPA per runs, specifically when you filter down to those specific types of runs. So it is something that they've done well. They're just not doing it. Those are basic runs that offensive linemen are taught to do, going back to Pop Warner football. Duo is one of the most common runs in football, period, and Denver's just not running it a lot, as much as they should be. And it's a little bit tougher with Ben Powers down, because he's a big reason as to why they were so effective. But you gotta do something, whether it's, flipping it and stop running duo so much to the right side and start running it to the left and having Quinn Miners be that lead puller, or switching it up to where you're pulling Garrett Bowles or something. You got to figure out something. Go back to the basics a little bit. The crack tosses, that opens up the door for explosive plays, but why you're doing it with J.K. Dobbins, I don't know. But the crack tosses, there are so many minor errors from the blockers on the crack tosses that they're running, and the wide zone stuff that they've run, though we haven't seen as much of that over the last few weeks. So maybe Sean Payton's kind of given up on that to an extent, but you still got to go back to the basics. Stop doing stuff that your offensive line clearly isn't, I don't want to say isn't capable of doing, but isn't adequate at doing at the moment. You can still keep working on it and, throw it in every now and then, try to keep the opposing defense sleeping. But you gotta just, the basic run stuff that these offensive linemen have been doing since they were 12, 13 years old, and just let them go out there and do it. And just not seeing it at a high enough rate. And then when you mix in the RPO stuff with Bo Nix and utilizing him as a runner, it could really bring about changes with the passing game and just the overall efficiency of this offense.
Mm-hmm. Love to see it. I don't know, especially with you're getting so DOA and it's so congested, spread them out a little bit. I know tight has been working better, but Denver doesn't necessarily have a great two-way player. And given how tight everything feels on the offense when they're not hitting those explosives down the field, maybe we can stretch them out horizontally a little bit. Maybe it can help the offensive line as well. When you have a lot of bodies close to the line of scrimmage, it's harder to identify who's coming and who's going with pressure packages. So maybe it simplifies things for the offensive line and the quarterback. Grasping at straws a little bit right now, Eric, because the offense is this was one I'm confounded, because Sean Payton has been really good this year. I feel like for the most part, this was a game where even from the personnel, what were they trying to do with Jaleel McLaughlin? It was every time it was terrible with him on the field.
It was a situation where how they use Jaleel McLaughlin is why aren't you just using Tyler Bidet for that? Because Tyler Bidet has proven to be effective, because he was just out there to, stay in and pass protect if it was needed, and then slip out as an outlet in the receiving game. And that's what Bidet's been used for. So why do that? Why not use McLaughlin to what he does well, which is a slasher type role? And they didn't call any of those types of runs. And then to your point of spreading it out, another aspect of that is when Sean Payton has spread it out, it's been predictable. We know what's been coming. It's been a screen or an outside run. Almost every single time that Sean Payton has spread it out a little bit and not been so tight, it's been predictable, and defenses are catching on for it. So if you're going to spread it out on top of just doing it a little bit more frequently, especially when, being tight's not working, can't be as predictable with it. You got to throw a little bit some difference there at opposing defenses to just make them think a little bit more. And that's a big thing with all of it. It's predictability isn't necessarily meaning that they're going to make a big play. The defense is going to make a big play every single time. It's that it's opening the door for explosive plays, because it's just causing them to think just for a split second longer that can open up the door for an explosive play. So there's a lot of issues there. And with the play calling that's stemming from this, and this is one of those issues that Sean Payton has had all season long. It's one of the few. It's just that it's been a little bit predictable with when you see the formations about what's coming from Denver, and he hasn't thrown any mixes to it. And on top of that, even more, is we saw all these quarterback sneaks with Bo Nix in week 1. I don't think we've seen a single, maybe one or two quarterback sneaks since then, after the Titans completely shut it down. when an obvious wrinkle to that, and we've seen the Eagles do it with their tush push, throw something else at them. Make it be a fake sneak and you're tossing it back to the running back or whatever. Throw a different wrinkle at it to, again, make defenses think. And Sean Payton's just isn't doing like those small steps that can be so effective to help out an offense. And it's just one of those issues with him, one of those persistent issues all season long. But this is the first game where the play calling and the play sequencing really stood out as an issue for this offense.
Yeah, no doubt. I did want to address the troll in the chat. Sean, Knicks is trash. Sean, we definitely welcome opposing fans, or maybe you're a Bronco fan who's a Knicks hater. I've been called a Knicks hater on here a lot. Right now, we can call it as it is. He's probably if you split the starting quarterbacks in the league into quartiles, right? Like top quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. He's probably in that third quarter of quarterbacks right now, which is fine for a rookie contract quarterback with the roster they have Denver built. And we still have time to worry about, retaining him, paying him, whatever. But I wouldn't put him in the top half of the league right now. He's probably somewhere from the 17th to the 25th best starting quarterback so far this season. Now going forward, he's younger. He's like, there's probably older quarterbacks who we know what they are. There's still potential that you can hope and believe on with Bo Nix for growth, but he's not trash. He's not been good either. Right now, I'd say he's probably more mid than anything, but that's better than Denver's had in a long time. And with the roster, the defense, it is a team game. So hopefully we can see some growth there, and Denver can keep stacking wins as Bo Nix, the lulls. But this game, again, we've been very critical of Bo Nix this season. The one quarter of good play, that's great to see, but that's not any basis of an offense or a career or good starting quarterback play. You need to put it together. Despite the 13 points in this one and only one touchdown, thought Knicks had a solid game in this one overall. So did want to address that. Eric, I know it's about time for us to get out of here. Max asked what happened to Bo's accuracy on deep balls. He struggled there at Oregon too. That was one of the concerns for him. That's not all quarterback though. That some of it is the wide receiver play. I think it's 50-50, maybe even more on the wide receiver than the quarterback. But hopefully we'll start connecting on some of those because we need to decompress the defense a bit. Again, and Quentin says Bo is kind of average, but I love the fighting spirit. He's definitely got the character and the intangibles to be a great quarterback. We just need to see him put together a little bit more consistency. We need an intermediate pass game, Eric. Just like a drop back pass game. And he's got plenty to work on still. But Conga asked, do the Broncos lead the league in 3 and outs? I think it's the Eagles right now that are leading the league in 3 and outs. One of those ones that I'm kind of like, hey, maybe that 4-0 Eagles team was a little bit of a mirage. We'll know more as the season progresses. Have to give a shout out to, I know it's the pass rush and run defense was good, but like the secondary in this one, we talked about Hufanga already, but all 3 of the cornerbacks, Surtain, lockdown city, should have been a strip sack or a strip tackle, forced fumble. I don't care what the rule is, Eric. He did it. We need the turnover faucet to be turned on. It's a great game from Surtain. Jaleel McLaughlin. Jaquan McMillan, incredible tackles in the open field in this game. He deserves a shout out. I know Barron's been a little bit more violent coming downhill, but J-Mac had a good game in the open field tackling. And then Riley Moss, hell of a game. Don't hear a lot of people complaining about him right now. He was awesome. He also had a few good physical downhill plays as well. So I want to give a shout out to the starting cornerback trio playing their most complete game this season. Considering how Denver plays defense, not giving up any explosive pass plays. Garrett Wilson's been great this season, despite the quarterback play there. Those cornerback trio, they were awesome in this one, and hopefully they can build on that going forward against let's just call it as it is, a pretty mediocre Giants receiver core now that Neighbors is out.
Yeah, McMillan, he's been the best corner this season for the Broncos, and I don't think it's been even close. And just his play has been so clean and reliable, whether it be in coverage or working downhill or working as a blitzer. He's been so good this year. And then Riley Moss had a great game. Patrick Surtain had a great game. And I'm a little surprised we're not seeing people just kind of shrug it off because of the quality of quarterback play and only, they only had 17 actual passing attempts, 18 actual passing attempts. So not surprised we're not seeing it shrugged off a little bit, but it was a really good game from all of them. And part of the reason why a lot of those sacks happened was Justin Fields didn't have anywhere to go with the ball because of how tight the coverage was being. So hat tip to all three of them. Hat tip to Brandon Jones. He played really well and really smart in coverage as well with where he was shading his coverages and working downhill. So everybody in the secondary just had a really good game. Hufanga was obviously the standout with the splash plays that he did make.
The catalyst. That's the word.
The catalyst, yes. But everybody in the secondary played great. And when your secondary can do what they did and your defensive line's able to do what they did, it's a lot easier to hide some of the issues that you're having from the linebacker position. And Denver was able to do that against the Jets.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, appreciate everybody coming in here today. We got all the super chats, 5 of you coming in. Jasmine, great to see you. Michael, a few times. Happy birthday, Michael. Troy, David Youngkin, twice. Appreciate you, David. It's good to have the Broncos get a victory. I know that I'm typically, a little bit more critical, but at the end of the day, anytime you win in an NFL game, there's no reason to apologize for winning. It's those guys on the other side are paid as well. Doesn't mean we can't criticize the individual performance and factors that need to be improved upon, but you take what you can in the league. Again, how many times last season the Eagles like weird meandering early on, the Chiefs so many times last season playing with their food. Wouldn't say Denver's necessarily playing with their food, but they played, especially in the first half. Like the fact that the score was what it was abhorrent, and they did not execute despite the overall discrepancy in how both sides were playing. So hopefully something they can learn upon. I don't know if the offense, again, we talked about Bo Nix, top 3 or 4 quarterback for Sean Payton and everything like that. I think that if the offense can end up this season top 16 in the league and some of the advanced metrics, that's probably a okay to good outcome from what we've seen. But really for me, what's correctable and has to be improved upon right now? Penalties and special teams. It's just going to be too hard to win if you are constantly losing those areas. And when you're losing those two, as well as not winning the turnover battle, field position every single game you're going to be fighting an uphill battle unless you have just a godly punter, which Crawshaw before this game had been awesome. This game I thought fine, not like he didn't have a shank or anything, but not like didn't feel any that was like, oh my God, that's a momentum changing punt, which you never really wanted to say, but it is a thing. So shout out defense. Broncos get the win, 9 sacks. Cooper, Hufanga, Benito, Zach Allen. We haven't mentioned him yet. Good game. Welcome back, Malcolm Roach. Good to have him out there as well. I thought he did well. It was Enrique, good game. Let's keep stacking wins. Hopefully 5-2 after this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Crawshaw had a little bit better of a game than you, but it's just one of those things. Field position is so important, and this game highlighted the issues that you have with it, the importance of takeaways, the importance of special teams. When they had at what they were like 0 for like 6 on third down, hadn't had a first down at all, and they had 9 points at that point or something like that. Yep. 6 points. Like that just highlights a lot of the issues in those areas. I mean, you're given a big return. Well, they're starting in field goal range. A fumble, they're starting in field goal range. They did nothing with the ball, but that's fine. I mean, I don't want to say that's fine because they still lost the game, and you want to move the ball and score touchdowns, but it's fine. It's a somewhat acceptable to when you get the ball in decent field position and you're at least guaranteed basically 3 points, as long as you don't turn the ball over, which is something the Jets have done relatively well. Fumbles have been an issue, but they have, protected the ball through the air a little bit. But that's just because Justin Fields is not a risk taker whatsoever. So you got to clean those up. Special teams, as I mentioned earlier, I have no idea what the issue is with it because there's not an obvious one that stands out to me. Penalties. This one was a bigger issue with penalties on the offensive side of the ball. You can't shoot yourselves in the foot like that you did, and you hit on it, you touched on it. And one thing I mentioned Friday night is that there is no way the Jets beat the Broncos, where if the Broncos lost this game, it's because the Broncos beat the Broncos. And let me tell you what, for the good majority of this game, that's what felt like it was happening, that the Broncos were beating the Broncos more so than the Jets were just there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Good shout out to the defense. Shout out to Lutz. Holly also, 57-yard kick. Lutz has been, him and Crawshaw, the specialists have been fine, above average, more or less. Coverage units, we need more. So appreciate everyone coming in. Make sure you guys are following Eric and I on the X Machine, Twitter, Erick Trickel for him. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. We're over at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. Super chat, superstars, you guys are awesome. Make sure you're also subscribing to us over on YouTube, and also become a member over at youtube.com /@Mile High Huddle. Helps us a heck of a lot as well. So you guys are great. Kind of an interesting game coming up now with the Giants. I won't be here Wednesday, so I guess it'll be Eric and Dylan or whatever, things like that. I'll be on a flight to Seattle. So hope everyone has a good one. And I'll see hopefully a lot of you guys at the meet and greet. So excited for that. Always a lot of fun. Excited to have that. And unfortunately, I can't host anybody because, as you can see, house is in disarray still with unpacking with a toddler, but we'll get there. Always fun, Eric. Good to see you. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Continue to choose kindness and compassion. 4-2. Victory Monday. Go Broncos.